manager. Those of you who don't know me, I've worked across the world. I am also a award-winning speaker at Autodesk University, Vegas, and I speak there almost every year. This year, they promoted me to be an AU speaker mentor. So, I'm one of the few speaker mentors across the world. I've done projects in Singapore, Hong Kong, Middle East, all across the United States. And currently I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I've done airports, hospitals, mixed use residences. I've done over 100 projects, which are more than $200 million. So it's been quite a journey, and I'm still, fairly young, as Anand said. So it's a great journey. I currently work at Gresham Smith. We are one of the top 25 AEC firms in the world, and that's a little bit about me. In terms of the conferences I've done, I'm also writing a book on BIM and my journey. So watch out for that on Amazon.
Wonderful.
We sure will, Ravi, and all the best.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Divya, can you switch on my video?
You can switch it on yourself. You're a co-panelist, so.
Well, not sure.
Sir, I'm making you co-host.
Okay.
Done.
I'm not very familiar with this, so we use Teams normally. So.
Yep. Yeah. I think now I'm live.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time, Anand.
Good to see unmasked faces these days.
Yeah, Peter, just so you know, Anand, Ravi, and I, we used to work together. Ravi for a brief period of time, Anand and I for quite some time. So yeah, so we are ex-colleagues.
Wonderful. Thank you for bringing me to your group.
Thank you for joining. Yes, Anand, a little bit about you.
Hi, hello everyone. So I'm Anand and I'm working for AECOM at the moment for last 5.5 years. Prior to that, I was a colleague of Roy and briefly with Ravi Wood. So at this point of time, I'm primarily looking into architectural detailing and development for various types of commercial projects primarily. And my main region of activity is Middle East. But apart from Middle East, I'm also working for US market for some, I would say, some really high-end projects in US market as well. Use of, active user of BIM for last 10 years and a very active proponent of BIM as well. And I would say I have been tremendously benefited, as while evolving as an architect using BIM.
Thanks, Anand. Yeah, I still remember when Anand and I first met, he was getting his hands on in BIM. From there to here, and Peter, just so you know, it took him. I used to leave office at around 6:30, 7 p.m. and he would then start after his whole day's work. He would start with his videos and BIM models, and from there to here, leading a team in AECOM. Yeah, kudos to you, Anand. So what we'll do is I'm going to talk about myself for a minute, and then I'll hand over the entire thing to Peter. And not much to say. I'm in this industry for about a little more than 20 years now. Still young, Ravi. Don't look at me like that. So, and yeah, I still remember back in 2007 making a presentation to the mayor of New York about what is BIM and the benefits of BIM for a city in a citywide scale. And the funny part is, I think 2017, AU, Autodesk University, I had, there were some fresh faces back then from 2007 who were the audience. and those are some of the guys who are now the who's and who's in the BIM world, making presentations. So it's been a long journey. It's been it's been a funny journey because in a way, not trying to sound negative, but we haven't.
A frequent user of Zoom or something
We
else?
use Zoom. We use Teams a lot. So
Okay.
probably we used to use GoToMeeting, but we pretty much got rid of that. But I'd say it's primarily Teams followed by Zoom.
Yeah, same here. In fact, because we have an enterprise license for Teams from AECOM, so I mean we generally don't face these kind of problems, these kind of issues on Microsoft Teams. Welcome back.
Welcome, everyone. Seems like YouTube Live, I think they might have crossed the threshold of maybe some users. So that's probably why it was. So is Rohit still there? Or in AECOM or?
Rise not
Rohit?
back yet.
Rohit, no, Rohit left. Okay, are you talking about Rohit from MEP, Ravi?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, he's still there. I thought there's another Rohit.
Okay, so Rohit, MEP is there, and awesome.
He's from AECOM India team. So
okay.
AECOM India team is there to serve the Indian market. So so they work on domestic projects.
Awesome. Seems like we're getting some comments and
some comments. Jerk off.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Peter, I missed your introduction. I don't know whether you.
Yeah, we didn't get that far. We did not get that.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Oh, we'll.
Ravi, you will have to introduce yourself once again.
Sure, I can introduce myself as many times, but we'll let.
Sorry about that. So someone just abruptly, I think, started another meeting. So production team wasn't aware. So yeah, it's morning in California, right? So people have.
Indeed, it's 6 a.m. out here. Sun is just coming.
So we've got 2 offices there, plus someone in Mexico. So not everyone's aware of every event that's going on. So someone must have started a Zoom meeting. Sorry about that. So I'm done. So I'll hand over the thing to you, Peter, if you can start and we'll talk about yourself and the master class we're all waiting for.
That sounds great. Yeah, hi, I'm Peter Burkholtz with Page and Turnbull, San Francisco, and I think I'll just share my screen here and give you a little bit more intro once I share. I'm never quite clear on this handoff. All right, you all see my screen? Yep. So Peter Burkholtz, I'm with Page and Turnbull Architects out here in California, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of how we've been using BIM in historic preservation over the years. Page and Turnbull is a San Francisco, California-based firm. We're small compared to AECOM, only about 40 to 50 people. We've got the 3 offices, and we are the original firm on the West Coast that specializes in historic preservation. We've got a group of people that are historians that look up and research buildings. We've got preservation technologists that sort of look at materials type issues. And then I'm an architect, and the architects then, rehabilitate historic structures and improve historic structures. And we've been using for the sort of the last 10, 15 years, the BIM, and more recently going sort of scan to BIM. We've done this on small projects, like here's a project in Oakland that the firm did pro bono, a budget of probably like $50,000 to rehabilitate this historic late 1950s children's play structure. And we scanned this to sort of document, and we're going to actually take this scan and output it to do 3D prints that they can use to fundraise for the project. So kind of a unique use of the scanning technology. On a larger scale, we're part of a team for the California State Capitol that is going to, you see to the left here, you see the rotunda of the California Capitol and the historic West Wing. On the right side of the screen is the annex, which is going to be demolished and rebuilt. We're a partner with SOM on this, and this is a $500 million project, and we're using scanning technology to document the existing building. And in particular, there's the addition is a 1950s addition. The original building was built in the beginning of the century. And in between these two buildings is an interstitial space that we don't really have very good access to. And so one of the things we're using the scanning technology is to stick cameras up in this interstitial space to scan to determine what utilities are and what the condition of the facade is. Page and Turnbull has been using BIM for the last, say, 15 years. And this was an early project that we sort of 2007, 2008 that we were working on with another local architect. This is the Exploratorium Museum at Pier 15, and it's the first zero net energy museum in the US. And how we did it back then was, you see to the upper left is the Port of San Francisco owned the property, and they were the designers of this in 1906. We took these microfilm drawings, paper drawings, and then somebody converted those to CAD. And actually, this was one of the first Revit projects where the architects did their work in Revit, but my office did our work in 2D CAD. So it was a combination. One of the unique things I think about, and so obviously, converting paper drawings to a BIM model is probably not the most accurate thing. And in particular here, this is a pile cluster that we have over here. And I don't know if any of you have ever worked on projects with piles. One of the anomalies is that when they drive piles in, they get twisted and they torque. And so what we have is a really nice kind of perceived grid of perfectly placed piles. The reality is this is all over the place. But because the BIM model was built using, just hand interpolation from this, we didn't really have an accurate model. And topping it off, so the architect did their model in BIM, produced all the drawings and things. And then when the general contractor came on board, they did their own model. So it was kind of, a lot of duplication, a lot of wasted energy. We don't do it that way anymore, which is great. What we're doing now is when we get into a project is we outsource the scanning, the photogrammetry to another group. And here's a project I'm working on that's under construction in Sacramento, the Capitol Park Hotel. Capitol Park Hotel, built in about 1916. And it's kind of interesting so the actual building is this building underneath the Capitol Park Hotel text. And it's actually two hotels that were built in 1916. This first portion was built, and the second portion was built in about 1918. They operated independently as hotels for a number of years, and at some point they were co-joined into a single building. Unreinforced masonry, one of the issues we have here in California is the high seismicity, earthquake danger. And so we are currently working on this project to rehabilitate it into a much needed affordable housing. The again, here's the laser scan that we did for the project. What we found on this project is that the client going in, you know, often the client doesn't have a lot of upfront money. They get their funding sort of as the project goes. So they want to skimp on the initial, you know, civil engineering and other services, the sort of due diligence. And so we were able to, late in the game, sort of get this laser scan. But what you'll notice here is this is a cut through of the point cloud on the interior. We documented the lower levels pretty well. We documented some of this south facing area, but we really didn't get into all the floors. We made an assumption that the floors were repetitive going up, and that assumption later came back to bite us. We also scanned the cores separately. So this building is a hotel, lots of individual rooms. So to scan it properly, obviously you need to get into every single room and link all those separate scans together. We didn't have the ability to do all that and made some assumptions. That point cloud was then made, you know, converted into the BIM, the Revit model that was used by the entire team. And another thing that we found out later was that in the BIM conversion, the assumption was, so this is a brick masonry building and taller 8-story brick masonry building. You know, brick construction, how it happens on taller buildings is you start, say, with 6 or 8 withes at the ground floor of the building, and every subsequent floor has one less withe of wall. So that by the time you get up to the upper floors, you're looking at perhaps two layers or 2 withes of bricks. The laser scanning obviously can only document what it can see. So we had interior walls built out that were plaster over some wood framing going up, and it seemed that the walls were consistent going up. But what we later found when we got into the demo phase was that these walls were tapering as they got up, and it caused a lot of unforeseen conditions in construction and added costs, because we later had to come back and properly model it. And in addition, you know, then there had been lots of renovations over the years, and so we also found columns and things that we didn't know, and they were buried in the wall. So point to be made is that the scan is only as good as what it can see, and if you have the ability to go and knock holes in the walls and, you know, supplement your scanning with true verified dimensions, or if they're bigger spaces, get that scanner inside, it will aid you greatly. Another issue on this building was, as I mentioned, it was 2 buildings built separately. The floors you see don't line up here going across. And when we modeled the BIM model, we modeled it as an entire building. And what we should have done is modeled this as a building, and then this other piece is a building. Instead, we modeled it as a single building. And so as we started working on the actual documents, there was a lot of masking that had to occur. And we were working on this project. Page and Turnbull was working here in California, and we were working with a Sanracha out of India to do a lot of the documentation. And there was a lot of confusion as to why the model wasn't reading right. And it basically came out to this issue that we should have modeled the 2 things separately, and all the masking was just created havoc with our documentation as we move forward. So yeah, all I can say is we learned our lessons. You know, do your scanning early, do lots of scanning, take the extra time to fully document each floor. Don't assume that things are repetitive as they move up. You know, obviously, what are the benefits of doing laser scanning? Our office does a lot of national parks work here in California. And so we're in San Francisco, we're working on something at, say, Death Valley. One of the benefits of having the scan is that once we have that point cloud in the photogrammetry, we're able to sit in our office and basically, we can click on points in the point cloud, and we have a very accurate document that we can measure to make it so that we don't need to visit the site. We have really accurate information. We don't need to go looking through individual images or looking at our notes from past site visits. Just in kind of conclusion of what we've been doing is scan it early, get your owners to invest in it up front, scan everything, scan below and scan behind. Don't skimp on the BIM modeling. Truly model everything if you can. I'm not saying model things in 3D, but key elements like walls and structures, make sure you model them, and don't assume things are repetitive. Going forward, what the office is doing, we're working on that state capitol annex in Sacramento, and when they built that addition onto it in the 50s, they sort of knocked off some of the ornament. There's cast iron ornament on the cornice, etc. We are now going to have that recreated, and our internal team is now modeling those elements in a way that they can be outsourced to a CNC machine, so that copies of that ornament can be made in a cost-effective manner. And that's all I had to say. If anybody had any questions, please ask me them, or if there's anything else you need from me, let me know. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Peter. Yeah, some of these are quite interesting. What we'll do is let's have a 5-10 minute session with Anand and then Ravi. No presentation, but I want to know about what they feel about the impact of BIM in architecture, because they have seen the whole thing, especially Anand, with starting off as an architect, doing his own practice, to working with AECOM and heading or being part of the BIM division there. So, and if you can, what's your opinion, thoughts, and how do you see things changing and from here on?
So, Roy, when you say, impact of BIM on architecture, well, architecture is a very, very broad term, and it means a lot when it comes to a project life cycle. But, the connotation that I carry when you say architecture is early design primarily, because I think that, what we have gone through in terms of the process enhancement through BIM is tremendous. Has been there have been several tools which have been aiding early design for the architects, and it has been harnessed for various user-centric approach, for various cost-benefit analysis, for various kind of simulations, and so on and so forth. So that's a sea change what BIM has brought to architecture, especially in the early design. When we talk about what the way we were progressing earlier, and and how we have or how we have come to an operational level change now is huge. The earlier design process was much more linear. There was a 2D workflow. It had a siloed approach, because you generate a sketch, and the sketch goes into a drafting mode, and then when it is drafted, it becomes or gets to a gradual design development. The MEP engineer, the building engineering team comes on board much later. Even the structure engineers are coming on board much later. So that kind of a linear and siloed approach has totally been done away with at this point of time. I have been involved in a few projects where we are even talking to the end users. We are talking to the contractors, And sometimes we also talk to the O&M professionals, simply because we have to, take their, take their experiences on board, even in early design. And that's what I want to talk about. I had a presentation also with me, but I would say that if you want to go like, a first round of views being taken from maybe from Peter and Ravi both, then I would say go ahead and we can come back to the presentation later.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Please go ahead with the presentation. I mean, we've seen Peter's, we'd be eager to see yours.
I think it would be more efficient if we can, take a one round of
Sure.
views. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, sure.
That's a great segue into what I was going to show. So you're talking about presentation. Raise a hand if you guys can see my screen.
We can,
right,
Ravi.
Peter. Awesome. So these are the projects I was talking about. These are some of the projects that I've done. I couldn't fit more projects in one page. Let's start from the top. Left one is in Nashville, Tennessee. It's for Amazon. We're doing multi-billion-dollar projects. There's the airport in Charlotte, industrial parks, Netapp project in Bangalore, hospitals, a $1 billion project, 5th and Broadway in Nashville, Tennessee. Some projects in the Middle East, King Abdullah International Gardens. It's a 500-acre garden in Riyadh. So I've traveled across the world. BIM has taken me from a small town boy in India to come to US and be a speaker mentor at AU. So I'm one of the best BIM managers in the world. The world knows it. And let's go not just to the project. What has brought me here is, of course, my friends, my family, and all the things I learned on the way. But before that, there's also a process. We were talking about what happens between the contractors, designers. For me, architecture doesn't stop when we do design development. It's just a starting of a project. So we'll go through a process later on. The second segment that I want to deal with, it's called the Ravi Process. It is an award-winning presentation at AU in 2019. If somebody wants to learn BIM management, Autodesk recommends me as, if you want to learn it at expert level, not like basic where you're just starting with Revit or starting things. If you want to learn the best of the best, you go to Ravi Wood and learn the Ravi process. And before that, we also have the awards that I won in Hong Kong, where I presented New York Build Expo, LA, KIA, Canada, CanBIM Council, a lot of places. But before that, I want to highlight two projects and two processes, essentially. The first one is a Netapp software campus that I did in Bangalore. It was for Netapp. It's a software Fortune 500 company, and they wanted to build a Class A project in India. The struggle was, as Anand mentioned, people are not yet aware of the processes. So we set up the BIM execution plan based on the AIA and UK level 2, and we delivered an LOD 500 model. We not only did design development, we did construction, documentation, we did energy analysis, we did LOD 500 asset information model handover in this. This model is being used for facility management by the client as well. So the idea is, often enough you talk about 2 dimensions, the paper drawings, CAD drawings, hand drawings, and you talk about the 3D Lego of BIM or Revit. I want you to think beyond that. I want you to think in the future beyond the 2D and the 3D, the 4-dimension. I want you to learn things when it comes to the 5th dimension of cost, because time is money. It's all important. And when we dive into these things, the LOD 600 of how we can create better buildings, more sustainable buildings, LOD 700 for buildings for facility management. And when we are doing all of this, the idea is to do it with efficiency and we stay profitable. And that's the Ravi process we are going to talk about in more detail. I know my time might be up, so I'll yield my time, and if anybody wants to learn more, reach out to me.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's interesting. Really? Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we should catch up more, Ravi, and I should learn. Anand, what do you say? Catch up with Ravi and learn the Ravi process.
Yeah, it's actually, if you go to AU 2019, it was a top-rated class, and it's a great class.
I'm sure it was.
And I did it in a way that I imprinted my name Ravi on it so that I didn't have to worry about patenting it.
Perfect. Yeah, this is very interesting. So let's come back to Anand. You were trying to show something. I actually want to show people a little bit of a project I can't name, but I'll do that later.
Yeah. So Roy, I have a limitation. I have a lot of confidentiality clauses, which I'm signatory to. So I won't be showing or showcasing an AECOM project here.
Sure.
Okay. But I would stick to the subject of today's panel discussion, and that is, impact of BIM on architecture. However cliche it may sound, but the impact needs to be really talked about. So, okay, give me a chance to share my screen.
You're a co-host, so you can share your screen. Getting some cool questions from the guys who are watching this on YouTube live. So,
is it visible?
Yeah, no, not yet. It's still Ravi process.
Okay, seems to be a lag there.
Try now. Let's see if it works.
Sure.
These virtual backgrounds are very funny.
Sometimes I put paintings and walls and stuff, and people ask, "Do you paint that?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So, and I just tell them I did paint it with hand and not rendered it in Inkscape. So, well.
Yeah, Anand, we can see you.
Okay, I've done it full screen. So is it visible now?
It is very much.
Okay. So, I would stick to talking about some of the impacts. And like I said earlier, so when you say impact of BIM on architecture, what do we really mean? I mean, architecture is a very, very broad term. And so like I said earlier, it's likely that we imply early design and the intellectual process behind it. And that's called design thinking. So, what BIM has done in last 10 and a half years is it has really disrupted the entire AC industry. And when it comes to design thinking, there also we have experienced a very, very lasting impact by BIM. So I will address that in a bit. So some of the things that I want to talk about here, and when we say that AC industry has been a laggard when it comes to technology adoption, I have always maintained that it's a myth. The reason why I say that is that, technology adoption is very easy for a specific product, for a specific process, or maybe a prototype. But what's the difference when we say about AC industry or architecture? It's a product of products. There are a huge number of products which make a piece of architecture, and that is why it is easier said than done. Making any kind of a paradigm shift in the way we work was always very, very difficult. And so we have to appreciate that architecture is a unique and gigantic assembly of large number of products. So certainly, that's the issue that we always faced. But yes, now we have it. And even though the dynamics is very, very complex in the AC industry, still we have got we have got a process which now finally brings all stakeholders together. Yeah, so the earlier process, which was drawing based, and I think the audience here are all from AC industry. I mean, we have a learned audience here, so I don't need to talk much about it. The only thing that I would highlight from this slide is that the output of the design process was always open for interpretation. You did not have a tool, or you did not have a means to really experience it, or maybe serve it as a single source of information. So people were working in different teams, in different departments, in different silos, and everyone was kind of coming together with their own set of information, sometimes perceptions also. So that's how we were operating before, I would say before 2007 or 8, largely. But slowly and gradually, we came to this, as we know it today, a BIM process. And now we have got much more integration, we have got much more accuracy, and it is, it has become even intuitive nowadays. The way we are, the way we have witnessed the progression of all the software tools and technology. I think you name a problem and you got a team who's working to develop an app. Okay, so that's what we are finally coming to. So now we have got a common data source, which is not open for interpretation, but rather it is there to really take advantage of, and you can experience it. So when we come to design thinking, and design thinking, as a process, it undergoes several phases of activities. But what I feel, as sometimes an early design professional also, is that we are really empowered, and we have got a variety of tools which are coming to our help and coming to our usages for various stuff. So the first phase, normally that we go through is empathize in design thinking. And what is essentially means is that, getting in the client and user shoes, we try to understand the needs and the aspirations of your users, and we start formulating them. So what kind of BIM tools that we have, which is helping us in doing that? The biggest tool that we've got is a database approach on precedents. So suppose, for example, if you're designing a mall, and there is a team which has done a mall earlier, then there is an entire data analysis of that mall, which is available as a resource for you to get into the formulation of entire client brief. And these kind of approaches are very actively being used, especially in large firms like ours. Okay, so that's where we are able to harness the potential of those databases. So we collect the data. The data collection is always very contextual. For example, if you're doing a mall in Middle East, then you cannot be collecting data from India. And of course, while formulating all this and while discussing and interviewing the clients and users, you really get into an integrated product delivery approach, because those design charades, which happens, consequently, we have started talking to our listed GCs. We have started talking to O&M professionals, and of course, users are always on board. So the next phase is define, and here what we do is we start defining the project brief in more, I would say, in more detail. And in BIM parlance, we call it AIR, the asset info requirements. All the data which has been collected in the previous phase is getting consolidated, and the kind of sizing that you have to do for a certain architectural product, the kind of area and quantity analysis that you get from the previous phases. So they all come to really get into consolidated requirement for client or for the project. And after we have formulated the project brief, we are now into ideation. We start conceptualizing the architectural work. And here I feel we have got a big impact from BIM, simply because we have got various tools which are available for us, be it for simulations. When we talk about simulations, I think Ravi talked about it earlier. We have tools for energy analysis. We have tools for daylight analysis. And we can also have a lot of parametric design possibilities. I think we all are, I guess we all are aware of what parametric design tools are there for our help. Similar to that, we have got computational tools. And of course, visualization is a very, very strong aspect of BIM nowadays, because the visualization tools are, have really advanced quite a lot in recent years. So here we see a big impact of BIM on architecture in the ideate stage or in the concept stage. So moving forward in the next phase, now we come to really designing out the schemes. We perform code analysis. We've got several BIM tools which help us in code analysis. We start setting up the project as per EIR, and we start bringing some of the other stakeholders on board. We start collaborating and iterations on the concept that we have done earlier. So all that takes place, in this stage. We also start setting up the project on nowadays mostly on cloud servers. So like BIM 360 is a very, very popular cloud server from Autodesk. It serves as a common data environment for all the participants in the project. Of course, we have got several modeling tools, for example, Revit, Civil 3D, several others, ArchiCAD, Vectorworks, there are many. All these tools and all these modeling softwares are utilized as per their strengths. Like Peter talked about scan to BIM possibilities, right? So all that, come here into play. And we also develop a data infusion plan at this stage. What it means is that, the way the richness of the data that needs to be developed over life cycle of the project, we start developing these kind of plans. We also call it MIDP in BIM parlance, which is Master Information Delivery Plan. We have got several scheduling tools, and the image below, that really is representative of what we start experiencing at this stage. There's a common source of information, which is a BIM model, and which is being utilized for several workflows and several activities by several stakeholders on the project. Okay, the next, after the scheme design is coming through, then we start testing it. Testing the design, it really means now that we develop the mock-ups on site. We perform some sprint studies. Recently, I have been a part of one big retail project where we performed a lot of sprint studies instead of mock-ups, because the clients wanted to test some design principles. And that helped us really gather the client feedback on several aspects of the project. For example, if you talk about a retail project, what kind of condition of premises that need to be taken care of, what kind of infra tools that need to be provided, to the users, to the tenants in future. So these kind of feedbacks we really gathered, in this phase, and BIM comes to again a great help, in these processes. Virtual reality is another immense, I would say it carries immense possibility in mock-ups and testing of a design. So I guess there are several softwares which are enabling the virtual reality. If you have a model, if you have a data-rich model, it can really, open up several possibilities in virtual reality. And then the next phase in design thinking is called implement. And here, again, BIM has had a very, very, critical impact on this process, because here we are into detail design, we are into clash coordination, we are into design documentation, and there are several BIM tools which are available for us: Revit, Navisworks, ArchiCAD, Bentley, Suite, Civil 3D, even AutoCAD. The traditional 2D CAD software is also, proving to be quite instrumental in design documentation. So I would say it's a bouquet of all these tools, which can be really utilized for, depending upon the, depending upon their utility in a certain phase. So that's about, how BIM has impacted design thinking. And then, right, so data makes us, makes us informed, and data that makes sense is information. Right info at the right time is very critical. It enables agility. And what I mean by agility in a design process is that, you should be able to change the course if something comes up, right? That ability to change the course of your entire process, if that is not being supported by whatever work or whatever workflow that you have, designed for, then probably you are not, probably not helping the project. So here, BIM is also helping us in responding to the change management quite effectively. And the next thing is about certainty in design. The way we are getting or we are harnessing the potential of BIM is that we are trying to have a lot more accurate information in our designs, a much more certainty in design, so that we can process buy-in from the clients. We can have buy-in from all the stakeholders as early as possible in the process of design, because no one wants to buy an experiment. Experiments can be really expensive. I would like to emphasize a little bit here upon one document or one critical piece in this process, which is we all know as the BIM Execution Plan. And this has been a go-to document for all the project workflow setup. We keep it always live and evolving, and it is owned by the project manager. So if you map it with the REBA stages of work, the way BIM document or BIM execution plan needs to evolve is something what is being shown here, here in this image. So from a simple asset information requirement, which is your early phase of design when you are formulating the client requirements, and then going to the actual project brief where we call it EIR, and then the BP, the evolution of BP, the way it has to undergo through the design process is listed here. The reason why I'm having this image or having this discussion in this subject is that over time time to time we are feeling that the project teams are not laying enough importance or enough significance to this document. Whereas I would say that when we have a dedicated BIM manager on board, he or she needs to be really active in getting this document modified and evolve along the process of design, even after handover and closeout, and when the building or a certain architectural product is being commissioned. And that's where the industry is lacking also. I think the people are coming up with BPs, but that's not getting updated over a period of time. That's a negative aspect that we are witnessing at the moment.
Not on all projects, Anand. I mean, like my projects are great, and we have won award-winning work, because we follow great BIM execution plans.
Good. Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate if it is being updated and evolving along the design process or along the life cycle of the project. I would really appreciate it.
It is, Anand. I don't know, but you do a lot of projects in the Middle East. I don't know to what length it is followed because of the design build situation there, because there is a BIM execution plan for nearly all the projects I have come across, even for the King Abdullah Petroleum Research and CAPSARC. So all of them we have had, we still do have, because you have to submit a Revit model to authorities in UAE, especially Dubai, right? Even in Qatar. So what happens there, and you would know this better than me now, is there is a process, a BIM execution plan, a BIM implementation plan, which gets created at the beginning of the project, generally by the architect, or led by the architect.
Yeah.
Because that's the first guy to join the team. Then what happens is once your contract documents tender stage is done, it gets transferred to a GC, right? Who reinterprets the BIM implementation plan and creates a BIM execution plan.
Yeah.
And the synergy between the two documents is somewhat blurry sometimes. So there are situations like this. India, there is a big challenge. Ravi, in India, in US, we have to have a BIM execution plan. We have to have a BIM plan. You cannot go about doing it otherwise because there will be litigation issues all over the place. Yeah. So we have to, there is no other choice. But in India,
India, in Bangalore, Netapp project that had the best BIM execution plan. So, it's not about location. We can't hide behind an excuse that in India, it doesn't work. It's the role of the BIM manager. We have to take the lead and make sure it is implemented. And that's what we did at Netapp. It's a success story. It's been a success story that has been told across the world. So I think that just highlights how we can take the name of India forward as well on a global platform and stage. So it's not, if you find a challenge, I think the highlight here is that if we come across a situation where we say, well, the industry is not yet ready yet. So it's not saying, oh, okay, in India, it's not done. Well, no, you do it and you take it to the world and show how it is done.
Sure.
Ravi, it's not about in India, there's a challenge. The challenge is not about the mindset. It's not anymore. It was 5 years back. Every project, be it a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 city, Indian government has made it mandatory to have a BIM execution plan, a BIM implementation for all government funded projects, all central government funded projects. Okay. So all airports, everything that you see, it has to be on BIM. So it's not a mindset issue. The problem is, and maybe I'll get trolled for this, but it's an education issue. Okay. We have amazing architects, amazing engineers coming in, The challenge is education, not in terms of the people, education in terms of the architectural firms, the engineering firms. Okay, they still operate in the designers, BIM operators, who used to be previously CAD operators or drafters. Okay, that's not how BIM works. Okay, BIM is a more inclusive process. And what that has done is, if you look at it, is people who were BIM modelers or BIM operators have now have got promoted to BIM team leaders, BIM coordinators, BIM managers. But a BIM manager does not need to manage a bunch of people. They need to manage the BIM process. But where does that learning come from? Because 90% of the workforce, the BIM workforce in India, has come from BIM outsourcing firms. Like Peter, you had used Sanrachna, Ankur Mathur, right? So they have come from BIM outsourcing firm like Parveen's firm, Intech, where you're not going to be able to, you have to teach yourself or get trained from somewhere. So you have a dearth of BIM coordinators and BIM managers with, okay, you have good managers, but not BIM managers who can talk about BIM execution plan and all that. So we our courses were in US and Mexico, and we were we took 3 years before launching the BIM Plus course in India, because one is the price point is slightly high. Second is we did not know whether the market was ready. But Anand, not your team, but your Bangalore office was one of they hire from us. So they, L&T, Tata Projects, the people who hire from us, from our academy, they insisted that they need BIM managers, people with 5 or 2, 3, 4, 5 years of experience in BIM, who then go on to understand what is an EIR. How do you take an EIR and create an BIM implementation plan or a BIM execution plan? What are the BSI standards? Okay. If you want to have your company into ISO 19650, like we are, or we are getting certified now, we're going to be the only firm in California, a BIM firm to be certified, but that aside. So that's how we launched the course.
No, certainly.
So that's the problem, Ravi. It's not about talent. It's not about mindset.
If I may, I agree with your point. Yeah, it's a great point. And I personally, it's not a problem. I look at challenges as opportunity. It's a great opportunity for us to resolve. And I believe in 3 Ps. BIM management is about 3 Ps. One is, yes, people, there's the projects and the processes and the workflows as well. If we really implement it across these 3 Ps, then it really has an impact the way we want it, rather than us being impacted by other factors. So that's what I would add to that. But yeah, great point.
So let me go ahead and finish this. Yeah, we have the BIM execution plan really induced a lot of comments and a lot of discussions. But yes, I will. What I feel, I'm not a BIM manager. I'm not working as a BIM person as such, or a BIM professional as such in my company. I'm working more as a design manager. I'm working more as an architect who is delivering a project. The reason why I brought up this point was that I feel that there is a bit of challenge that we all are facing. The BIM managers who are on the project, they are the people who are actually graduated from the roles of being BIM coordinators or senior BIM coordinators, but they lack that scholarly approach or that vision to author a document. Authoring a document is a different temperament. Is totally a different temperament, because you need to have I would say a high level of skill to draft a page of BIM execution plan. And you got to be really, richly experienced to understand the different phases of the work or different challenges the other stakeholders face and how they are going to collaborate. So this is a challenge that we are facing. So what happens generally is that there is a BEP for the name's sake, but it doesn't it doesn't evolve over a period of time. As the project changes, there are a lot of changes which are happening all the time. The clients are coming up with new requirements. There are, if there are 5 phases of a project, 2 phases got held up, 3 phases got started, and 2 new phases or 2 new additional components of the project, they got launched. So these kind of scenarios do happen, and we are facing them day in, day out. Okay, so going to the next one. Yep. So where are we headed to with BIM? And yes, of course, the journey so far has been quite useful, quite disruptive. People are all, I mean, at least the big firms, the professionals, they're all sold to BIM. This is the UK task, BIM task group, and their plan. So at present, I would say that most of us are still at level 2, right? And in 2020s, where we are headed to, okay, and you see there are a couple of highlighted items here, which is one is called the delivery manual, and the another one which is called the IFD. So this is where as a BIM process or a BIM professionals, we all are headed to. If you can allow me some time, I can quickly explain what these 2 terms mean here. Sure. Yeah. So the first term that I wanted to talk about was the delivery manual or information delivery manual. And this is really about how the information has to be exchanged. So we are coming up with a protocol which will actually determine, at what stage, what information has to be, exchanged to what party, to what stakeholder, at what time, at what stage of the project. So this is something, which has to be in a very, very structured way. What happens at this point of time is that, okay, we have got a common data environment. We have got a BIM model in place. We have got several teams who are contributing to the data richness of the model. Everyone is working. But then the information flow is not really structured. In spite of so many project setups and BIM processes, I would say that even today the information delivery is not really structured. Okay, and so this is what the organizations and the big firms they're working towards it, and we can create a delivery specification which can be internationally acceptable, okay, or for various kind of a project. The other thing, and this is about various components in architecture or various components in building, how they can interact with each other. Like you must have heard of machine language. So computers interact with each other, or Internet of Things, so they interact with each other in a certain language, which is called machine language. So likewise, we are also to create a kind of a language which happens between the 2 building elements. For example, if there is a let's say there's a circular column in India, and that same circular column has to be built in United States. So the engineer here would write a documentation or come up with a documentation for the erection of that circular column. He will talk about what kind of concrete, what kind of reinforcement, what kind of foundation, what kind of fire rating and all that stuff. Everything will go. So the entire documentation becomes a little language specific, and there is a challenge of language. We are also working on some projects where we are facing this linguistic challenge because we work across the geography, in the entire at a global scale. So whenever these kind of situations arise, we are working towards assigning a certain identity to the building components, to the architectural elements, so that we can establish a common information exchange protocol for these kind of building components. So integrated web services, will come up with these kind of linguistic protocols for the building industry, and that's where I think especially the software or the software companies who are developing these tools and apps for our industry, okay, they are working towards it, and hopefully we'll arrive there quite soon. I think I can close out here. Roy?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Let me try and show you guys something cool. I just opened it, and
Yep.
while you were talking, you're talking about, when we talk about let me share a screen. When we talk about, you talked about virtual reality. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So now it's a simple thing, right? We did this for HKS, right? So now what does this do? This is a virtual reality model. So this is to scale. This is this is actually the view from outside. It's not some poster, so it's from Google View's actual camera angle that would be. So what it does is it helps the doctors and plan. Like, for example, if I look at this one, there's an operating theater. Now these are made to very specific, these need to be very accurate in terms of dimensions and specifications, the height of this space. I'm not very good at maneuvering, which you might have guessed, where this location need to be, and all of that, where the lux level, all of that needs to be very precise. So, where the operator can stand. So when we think of virtual reality, we tend to always think of cool stuff, but it's not always the cool stuff. BIM has evolved where what the point I'm trying to make is, it's not about just the cool stuff. It's about the functionality. Why are you doing this? When you talked about BIM implementation plan, or BIM execution plan rather, it's about a set of processes, guidelines to achieve a certain goal. To achieve a certain goal in a certain way. What software you use, what specific process you use does not matter. What matters is the end goal, right? So the cool stuff that everyone talks about is the easy stuff. Figuring out the process and the goal is the difficult stuff. I'll show you a project. I'm going to do again, I cannot, we have a strong confidentiality on this one. And if you have guessed the project, please keep it to yourself. So this project is in San Francisco Bay Area, Mountain View. It's a 42-acre site, 1.1 million square foot area. These are the buildings. And the scope of work, I'm going to show you, scope of work, modeling, complicated architecture, structure, 8 layers showing the pictures. So this is the roof structure. All of these vertices are different, okay? And all of these structures lying in uneven planes. Challenges. One bay is first divided into 4 quarter parts. Each quarter part is again divided into 10 subparts. So now you can see all of that. If you're a construction professional, I'm sure you've understood. Now you have to model this individually. Now, here's the tough part. This project when we started this, it was 3 years back. 3 years back seems like not a very long time, but a lot of the software did not have the maturity level to pull this off. Okay, managing so many vertices at the same time. Okay, you can see the component. Now, the general contractor on this one, we were working as BIM managers on site for the general contractors, which is Whiting Turner. And the roof contractor came up, nobody touched it with a barge pole, okay? None of the BIM companies. We did not want to model. We still do not like doing a lot of modeling, BIM managers. And finally, because of pressure, we took it. The challenge was this could still be pulled off in Rhino and then take it to Grasshopper and all of that. But in native Revit, this was a challenge then. This is a challenge now. Okay. But the client wanted, somebody asked about digital twin. The client wanted a digital twin in Revit. Okay. So we will take the Tekla model for the structure, the primary steel, and put it in Revit and all of that. So what we did was we coded this on Dynamo, and here's the thing: each bay approximately. So there are 200,000 of them. Okay, for the audience in India, that's 2 lakhs. So this is what was, and to refresh the model used to take 12 hours to 14 hours and be on the server. So the reason I'm showing this is not to glorify, who we are and what we do, but to say that if there is a certain goal, you will always, even if there's a software limitation, okay, you will always find a way of doing it. Okay, we said this is very easy in Rhino and then putting it in Grasshopper. Client said no. The end client wants this, and they're the biggest tech giant, or one of the biggest tech giants in the world. So we have to give this. So and you know how it is, Peter, right? So when the client wants something, you have to give it to them. So and so that's how it is. And just so you know, Anand, Ravi, and the audience, 90% of the Dynamo stuff was done by 2 of our staff whom we had hired directly from the Institute, Technostruct Academy. And both of them were architects with about 1 year of experience, and they're now senior team leads managing projects themselves. So, and we pulled it off. And they pulled it off, which is what makes me more proud.
Awesome. Really awesome.
Yeah.
Working on Dynamo and like such young people, really awesome. Incredible.
Yeah, that's what I said. When Ravi said it's about, there are people, there are really talented people. That's why we have our offices in India. Because of the R&D we can do. We have really talented architects, engineers. It's just the problem is everyone in India wants to teach tools. Tools are easy. You can go on YouTube and learn Revit. Not a problem. You have to teach the technology. You have to learn the technology and the processes and the codes. That's where and that's how you showed the example of the ship. That's how you stay nimble. The form follows function, or function follows form, and now everything follows a Revit model. No, it doesn't need to be like that. So I want to talk about it. Technostruct Group.
That's a great point. I think this was a great conversation. I think we are almost on time. I have another meeting to go to. So
Sure.
Thanks everyone. I think it was a great pleasure talking to each one of you. So if you have any questions specific to me, just reach out to me. And thanks everyone.
Thanks,
Sure.
Ravi.
So,
Good to have you.
thanks, Ravi. So taking another minute. So this is our course selection panel. Most of them are from Purdue and Virginia Tech, and some are from Qatar State, and some of them I think you might know as well. And I'm going to not talk about the construction management courses because we are not taking fresh admissions there. This is the course, BIM Ready Plus, which is for BIM professionals only. And yeah, I mean, that's all. That's all I wanted to show. So we're running out of time, guys. There are a couple of questions which I wanted to ask. One is, Peter, what are the challenges you see during construction of churches, mosques, and temples while using BIM software? Do you have any experience there?
You know, we rehabilitated a church in the US. You know, we see declining enrollment in religions, and some church properties are surplus. We have worked on a rehabilitation of a church here in San Francisco. It was turned into a club. And, you know, a church is really just another use type. And I think anything with BIM would be related to just other buildings. I don't see any specific issues related to BIM and construction of churches and documentation. And I'm sorry, I've never done a mosque.
Anand, you got any experience with that question? I'm going to repeat that question. What are the challenges you see during construction of churches, mosques, and temples while using BIM software, or any of these structures?
Right. So we design a lot of mosques because we are working Middle East. So mosques are like quite a regular feature. But I don't see anything different in terms of challenge while doing a mosque, because
other than the orientation.
Yeah, exactly. Orientation, and then how the worshippers are going to be seated, their ablution requirements and their locker rooms and all that stuff. So nothing different in terms of BIM application. I mean, whatever that functional design that would pose you as a challenge will remain, in any building project.
Sure. The next question we have is, how is digital twin different from BIM? Who wants to take that?
Well, digital twin is a digital copy of a building. Well, BIM is not that. BIM is a process, or BIM is a means to achieve that digital twin, which you will create as a reference.
Yeah, I mean, the person who's asked that question about digital twin, you can go to our LinkedIn page. We had a whole webinar on digital twin by none other than Paul Doherty himself. Okay, so go there and you'll see the recording of that. It was a fireside chat between Paul and myself, and he had shown a cool presentation explaining what's digital twin and where it's applicable and what they have been. He's the pioneer, one of the pioneers. He was the first 5 members of Revit before it was sold to Autodesk. Okay, so that's Paul Doherty for you. So go to our LinkedIn page and you'll see a copy of that. So apart from costing, how else can a quantity survey?
Lost your audio, Ryan.
I said apart from costing, how can okay? What was the question? Just one second. Apart from costing, how else can a quantity surveyor participate in BIM? A QS guy.
Peter, want to take that?
Quantity surveyor.
Well, I think as Ravi mentioned that, everything is becoming much more integrated, or actually, Anand, I think that was you. So, the cost surveyors, the cost estimators, as we call them in the US here, are part of the fully integrated team, and there's no handoff anymore. So I would say that they're now part of the team. And so they have, there's the issues that we used to have where people come on and they didn't know the project. I think everyone knows the project from the beginning, and it's much more of a team environment.
My personal suggestion would be, if you've got a specialization in costing, and then you get to learn the BIM processes, you already hold a trump card. I mean, you're specialized resource. Why waste your specialization and try to look for other greener pastures? No, not required. I mean, live with your specialization and you'll reach somewhere. That's my personal take. There's no right or wrong answer to this one. What's that? There's an increase in. Okay, I'm not gonna take that. This is for both. All three of us can answer this. We're going to start with Peter. What's the BIM role? How does BIM change from a small scale project to a large scale project? Your presentation started with that, so someone is asking that question.
Yeah. And well, on a small scale project, right, we're going to have fewer people participating, fewer people working on the project. And so the the BIM staff person needs to know everything. They need to do everything. I think that's the difference between a small project and a big team is, in a big team, you'll probably get relegated to a particular little niche on it. On a small team, that one or two staff people have to do everything, and they have to know everything. So, the small project is probably a better way to learn the entire process, but it'll be much more simplified than a larger project would be.
Well, interesting question, because the application of BIM on a small project and on a large project can vary quite differently, and they should ideally vary. So when you are sticking to BIM process, or when you are applying a BIM process on a smaller project, I think the moving pieces of the project or the dynamics of the project will be much simpler. Your entire workflow, your entire process will be much simpler. It would be very easy to manage all the stakeholders. It would be very easy to manage the data, and therefore you can go a bit extra mile as well, in terms of what innovations you can bring in, maybe at a smaller scale. And a smaller project would always give you that opportunity to come up with some innovative ideas. So the applications of all the tools that you got, all the BIM, so-called BIM tools, you really can challenge their limits, or you will have that bandwidth to challenge their limits on a smaller project.
I think, yeah.
On a bigger project, the number of stakeholders are quite large. You've got a lot of interdependencies. You've got a lot of interconnected activities which are going on. So you're kind of tied up, with a lot of people, with a lot of workflows. So you got to really be focused, stick to the process, and your ability to challenge the limits get a bit compromised.
I have a different take. In a smaller project, I don't think there's too much of a difference between a small project and a large project. I always believe in the goal setting and process. And in small projects, there can be very different goals. I have seen a small residential project in Bahrain, which literally has given me, white hairs. And I mean, not literally, I don't have any, but yeah. So, and I have seen a really large scale projects, we tend to do large scale projects only in California, going absolutely smoothly as long as the goal setting is there. It's sort of, that's the importance. And now with everything being on the cloud, where you can do everything with BIM 360 Coordinate now with the entire, which is the new transformation that it has made. And the BIM 360 Coordinate Lite, which is nothing but Navisworks on the web. It doesn't matter whether it's a small project. For me, a small project means less manpower, less money. Large project means more manpower, more money. There's no difference other than coordination issues.
Correct.
Okay.
So, I would just add a couple of things here. The principles of design or the principles of a project delivery, they do not change whether you have got a small or a big project. The principles don't change. The processes or the nitty-gritties of the processes may change. Something may get a little simplified, or something may get a little more complex. That's the only difference.
And you get to meet a lot more people during coordination meetings.
Yep.
So that's the fun part
Yep.
for a large project.
Yep.
I think this is the last one I'm going to take because I've taken a lot of your time, both of you. Which one? Okay. How data analytics plays a big role in transforming BIM in construction industry. Data analytics, everyone's talking about that. What's your thought on this, Peter? Data analytics in BIM.
You know, I don't have a lot to say on this. I'll defer to Anand on that.
Sure. Anand, you got anything on that?
Well, I mentioned the data analysis in the earlier part of my presentation when I say that when we are trying to formulate the project requirements, for example, or when we are trying to help the client come up with a project brief. So there, the data collection that we perform from the precedents or the previous projects, they come to our help. All the data which are there lying, and they are being generated 24/7 all the time. Once you process it for a certain objective or for a certain purpose, it can actually help you in making a very informed decision. So now, how the data is being generated, or what kind of data that we're talking about. We can talk about data of power consumption. We can talk about, I'm just throwing some examples. We can talk about power consumption. We can talk about the U values of a building envelope, for example. We can talk about the average footfall. We can talk about how for example, in a mall context, how the retailers have changed their leasings, or how they have been billing towards certain services. So all kind of data can give you very deep insight into the usages or the patterns of usages of a certain facility or a certain building. So when that data is available to you, you can really analyze them and use them for the benefit of your design.
So I don't know if you know Anand and Peter, I'm meeting for the first time today. I apart from Technostruct, I personally am part of board of a pretty large and award-winning data analytics, big data analytics firm, predictive analytics firm out of Hartford, Connecticut. And and we're talking with Autodesk right now to develop something which is all hush-hush, so I can't talk about it. But I think the person who asked this question is from India. What is a smart city? What is the smartness of the smart city? It's the data. It's data that from about who stays where, what does this person do, how much water this person drinks, or the potable water requirement, the electricity consumption, okay, which has an impact on the grid, load on the grid, parking structure requirement, movement, where does this person go?
The building performance.
The building, so the building for heating, cooling. Now in India, you need both. Like if the place where I stay, I mean, where you stay, we need both heating and cooling. Yeah, because we've got extremes. Now we need cooling. When it's winter, we need heating, right? So all of these go to municipal data, traffic data, everything. And then that data, what happens with the data? It doesn't become a file somewhere sitting in some municipal office. The tax collection data. So all of these data channels go, and then the dashboard is created and data analytics happen, whether we use normal data analytics or we implement big data. Big data has nothing to do with the volume of data. It's a different technology, okay? A lot of people have this misconception. Big data can be just an Excel sheet, okay? It's not Excel, but let's say a Hadoop sheet. And so I'm doing one of the largest, not one of the largest, it's the largest project in London right now, where we are implementing BIM and big data and the analytics. So a dashboard gets created within 9 seconds and is repopulated every 30 minutes. Okay. So that's the smartness. If you talk about smart buildings, what's the smartness? It's the data, the consumption, the input and the output. Okay. So it's a citywide level. You guys can follow City Zenith. That's a good firm run by Michael Jansen from Chicago. About they one of the movers and shakers in terms of citywide. They did a lovely project in Barcelona on smart cities. They're not doing anything in India. I don't know. So SOM, you've partnered with SOM. I know for sure that they're working on how to implement a lot of big data in analyzing building performance for retrofit projects. Okay. For example, Anand, you talked about retail. Okay. Yep. You know, all Starbucks across the world, other than in China, is on BIM. China, I'm saying I'm not sure, but other than that, it's all on BIM. Okay. Not as Technostruct, but as another firm, Stellier, which is no longer there. We used to do all the CAD work for Starbucks, their office in Seattle. And then we created all the Revit libraries for them. And so in a way we had, so I was part of that team. And so they rely heavily on data analytics for changing their their upcoming stores and revamping their existing stores based on consumption patterns, interest pattern, or what they want people to consume. Okay. Traffic movement.
Also use that data, you know, to develop the leases and look for where they want to put their stores based on the number of pings they get from cell phones. They know the foot traffic, and it's clients are using that to figure out where they want to be.
True. So to sum that all that discussion up, a lot of software like Rebuy2 can then go into other bridging platforms, which can then get into your ERPs, or we can do direct. And I will have, if Malavika is there on this meeting, please remind me, we should have a webinar on, I will invite someone from Autodesk and from my other company, and we will talk about what we are doing, what the industry is doing in terms of data and analytics and the bridging of the silos of data analytics and BIM. So we should do that. Malavika, if you're in this, please remind me to get, maybe the next month would be this. I think we've done enough, and there's no internship of freshers. Yes, there is, and please get in. There's a form which Dr. Divyashi had put, so please fill it up. Okay, I'm not going to answer that. Very last one, and I'm going to answer that myself. How can you see BIM in 2030? I don't see BIM in 2030. I think we should be, by 2030, we should stop talking about BIM. Okay, like we stopped talking about CAD, we should stop talking about BIM. Okay, we should be doing something else. It should be part and parcel of our life. So, but thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much, Anand and Ravi. I'll send you the recording. So thank you so much for being part and showing us the Ravi way. And thank you everyone who's joined this webinar. And thank you, Malavika, for organizing it. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us here.